Ladies and gentlemen, have I got a treat for you today? You see, we've covered a lot of shows in the past couple of weeks here. We've covered some excellent shows, like Clone Wars Season 7 and The Mandalorian and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. We've covered the statistical anomalies that are Arcane and Andor, but ladies and gentlemen, it is time to cover some real television. This is actually a trend we see over on video games too. If you look at the golden number sheet, which you don't have access to, of course, you will notice that as we look down this wonderful, wonderful list, we tend to cover good shows overall. Like, it tends to be the kind of thing as we cover shows or games. Excuse me, we cover games that are designed to be good. Most people tend to fund games that are good. Like, if you look at just the numbers of how many games are above 0 versus how many are below, that says all it needs to. And very, very few games are in that 0 range, the mid range, as we like to call it. So, I mean, our average golden number is 82, for God's sakes. That's all it needs to say, right? So, we don't tend to cover average shows. Which this isn't. This is Drek. Because that's the other thing we tend to cover, isn't it? We tend to cover good stuff, and we tend to cover terrible stuff. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Donkey Kong Country Show. Hi. I also want to share something. I've actually already said this on camera before. Of all the shows that we've been covering as part of the Ruminations block, Arcane, Clone Wars Season 7, Andor, Mandalorian, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and Tangled, I haven't seen any of them. I was walking in extraordinarily blind to all of the aforementioned shows. Do you know the one show I've actually seen before this block? Because you're looking at it. Back in the day, I've got a bit of a story here. Back in the day, there was a show that came out on local television, which I don't even remember what its proper name was. But there was a Mario Brothers 3 cartoon show, and then there was a Mario World cartoon show, separate things. And they both sucked. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I was not a fan of either show, particularly, even as a kid. What I found most interesting about the whole affair, I distinctly recall the sensation, because it was the first time I really processed what familiarity effect was, and also how dangerous familiarity effect could be. Because when I found out there was a show based on Mario 3 and Mario World, I was excited. Like, there was this energy. I was pumped. I was like, oh man, this is great. I'm actually going to be able to watch a show about Mario. That's so fantastic. And then I watched it. And I realized something that I had actually already processed before, but I just sort of forgotten. See, the thing is, I've also had the Mario Brothers cereal before. And that was trash. And I'd kind of forgotten that particular lesson. And so this thing I was super excited for, because it was a thing I knew, was terrible. And I was rather discouraged by that. So I walked away from that, of course. Years later, I was actually in high school now. So we jumped forward to maybe 3 years. I'm not sure the exact timing here. I'd moved states at this point. And I was at high school, and I was just scrolling through TV, and there's this show that showed up on Fox Kids. You remember that? Anybody remember Fox Kids? And it was Donkey Kong, and I was a pretty big fan of Donkey Kong, so I was like, yeah, all right, I'll give it a try. Oh my god. And I was transfixed. By this point in my life, I'd already gotten an interest in television productions. I'd already been kind of vaguely interested in the behind-the-scenes stuff even before this. But by this point, there was literally a TV studio in the high school. I went to a really rich kids' high school. Which is funny, because we lived in assisted living. We just happened to be like one dip inside the county line, or not the county line, the district line. So I went to the rich kids' school. Moving on. That was all planned, by the way. That's why I went to a rich kid school. My mother really carefully lined that one up. So I was already interested in the concepts and ideas thereof, and I shared this with two of my friends who also happened to be in television productions, and it became a thing for us to watch this show and just not only make fun of it, but like take notes on what not to do. I am not joking. I did a little research in preparation for this. Apparently, a grand total of 7 separate studios produced this show. Now, that's a little bit spread out because after season 1, they changed production companies. And so it was like 3 for the first season and then like 4 for the second season. But still, that's impressive. As we will show on camera, there is a little bit of a noticeable dip in quality when you get to season 2. That is specifically because of the fact that they shipped it over to the cheaper studio to continue producing it. Also, and I didn't know this, season 1 was actually motion captured. In fact, it was double motion captured. What I mean by that is there's someone up there doing most of the body language, and then there was someone doing things like hands and facial capture. So 2 actors assigned to each character. Okay. In season 2, they got rid of all the motion capture, so it's all just keyframing. We are watching one episode about that. I'll cover that in just a second. Yeah, this is not quite at the level of Andy's Circus. Yeah. The timing of this is fascinating too. So this is actually a French show. As in, originally it was made and aired for French. In fact, I was actually having a really hard time nailing down how big the time gap was between this coming out in France and coming out in English. Because it is a time gap, but because there's so little relative information on this show because nobody gives a crap, I'm not sure if it was about like 9 or so months or closer to 2 years. And again, it's really hard to properly find that out because information is just kind of vague. Cool. Either way, yeah, TV was a thing. Like I said, I saw this in like 97, 98 or something like that, so that doesn't help, unfortunately. This show introduced the very concept of the crystal coconut to the Donkey Kong lore, which I know if you're thinking, what the hell is that? Well, that actually would show up several years later, 3 years later, for Donkey Kong Country 64, to give you an idea of dating exactly when this show was happening. Now, there was a rumor that I was not able to verify. I did find, I say rumor, one of the writers who worked on the show actually has stated that apparently there were 10 or so episodes, there were actually like 30, but there was 10 or so episodes that they'd already done storyboarding for, which means in this context, they'd already done the animation and they'd already done most of the things. They were starting to polish up the details when they got the scripts, and the scripts were not workable. What that means is they had already done all of the expensive work, and now they had to change the dialogue going after that expensive work. So they had to change the dialogue without changing the animation. And let me tell you, I don't know if that's true. Like I said, there's just one writer who said this, and there was no confirmation I could find past that one quote. But if that's true, that would explain many things about this show. This would all be in season 1. And, yeah, I would believe that is what this really boils down to. Savacom has apparently made it in time. I was actually wondering if she would be able to be here for this. Hang on one second. Let me pause in my note reading here. Thank you very, very, very much, Savacom. If you want to get coffee, now's the time, because boy, have I got a treat for you. I do ever and always appreciate your support, Savacom. Thank you. I will put that towards Final Fantasy, or excuse me, Suikoden Tactics, the other tactics. Mina the Hallower and 4 Heroes of Light. Thank you. Yeah, Twitch is doing this weird thing. I don't know what it is. It's been weird today. Not a lot I can do about that. Also, one of the reasons I've been going out of my way to specifically name drop the episodes in the thing there is because the episode order is one of those debatable things, like it is for a lot of shows. Hell, TOS has that problem. So today we're starting with Bad Hair Day, which is either episode 1 or episode 3, depending on who you ask. It's one of those situations. I had something else to say. I was sort of in the middle of something there. And I can't remember what it was. God dang it. Multiple studios, the transition to English, the issues they had. Oh yeah, also Reboot is always going to be the show that people are going to mention with regards to this show. Now, for those of you not aware, Reboot was a CGI show and is usually considered the first show to really prove that CGI animation can actually work. The interesting thing about Reboot is Reboot does predate this show. The exact amount it predates the show is a little bit debatable, but it's a bare minimum of 2 years. I just want you to think about that for those of you who have seen Reboot, to think about the fact that Reboot was before this. I mentioned it was French originally, and we got it over here, and it certainly got a bit of a cult classic. Oh yeah, I should also mention that I sort of drifted off of this show, like I kind of forgot it existed. And I'm going to give a shout out to Pro Jared because he did a video covering this several years ago. In fact, when was that? Let's look that up really quick here. That would have been 8 years ago. God, I'm old. 8 years ago, he did some coverage of this show, and it reminded me. I also want to give a personal anecdote that stupid theme song has been stuck in my head for the last couple of days as I've been getting ready for it. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid I have horribly misled you. And I apologize for this. Because we're doing something special today. Came out in 1996 originally, probably. Ladies and gentlemen, that intro sucks. The music is surprisingly catchy, I'll give it that. But did you notice how cheap it is? Oh, I'm not even talking about how extraordinarily terrible the visuals are or the animation. What I mean is that it's just edits from the show. They just splice together shots from the show and then put it together, and that's all it is. What's really sad is that's about a minute-long intro, which is a little bit on the long side for this kind of a thing. It should actually be closer to 45 seconds or 30 seconds because this is a very solid 22 show. And they, like, I don't want to sound dismissive. Obviously, I know more than several people do that editing is a whole thing and it takes time. But you yahoos decided to save time and effort by just editing together random shots from the show. And that's it. And I know what you're going to say. Well, hold on. Don't a lot of shows do that? Yes. Moving on. Even by the 90s, which is when this came out, this was considered bad form. This is the kind of thing that signaled cheap show. It had been a thing to make a special title crawl for your show since the 60s. But back then, that was a little bit more rare of a thing. But of course, as time moves on and television moves on, it became more and more acceptable and reliable to go ahead and just do your own specific custom-made intro for the show. In fact, this was such an old practice that by the time that we hit the 90s, this was already something that was being contested because a lot of showrunners and a lot of producers were starting to say that we needed multiple intros for a show. If you remember, Babylon 5 did exactly that. There was a different intro per each season. This was something that an overwhelming number of... Yeah, this is... An overwhelming number of Trek producers also pushed against. If you remember, Voyager never changed its intro, and Enterprise only barely changed it once. But in both cases, Brennan Braga in particular was constantly trying to push to create a new intro. After all, Deep Space Nine did a major intro shift, and so did Star Trek Next Generation. Of course, Voyager and Enterprise just weren't moving the numbers that those were. So, but yeah, either way, what I'm trying to say here is that by the time this show came out, even the thing they're doing was so out of date that the thing that had replaced it was considered out of date. So, yeah, I don't know what else to add that. Oh, and just for the curious, Babylon 5 came out 3 years before this, depending on how you define that, because it's always debatable. At the very least 2 years before this, which I once again mentioned because Bab 5 had already started doing the multiple intros per season thing. Yeah, Power Rangers is another example of this. That's another good example. Anyways... Yeah, Power Rangers was a cheap show as a plot point. Still did a custom intro. So, negatives to intro. The only reason it's not 3 negatives is because... No. Let's just go there. So the only reason it's not even more negatives is because this is just... At least the song is a bop. I'll give you that. I will. So let's get into the episode proper. Don't worry, it's the only time we're going to go ahead and watch the intro. So, by the way, if you've never seen me do this, so forgive me, this is all old hat to me. I apologize if this is odd and awful. I've actually been doing this quite a bit with several people, including the Trek Lore Runee. So this whole format works really well for me, and it's worked really well for them. I apologize if this doesn't work well for you. I know that sounds like I'm blaming you, but my point is that this is a proven format that I don't really see a particular need to change. Let me explain the format. There's the show, here's me, I pause periodically to discuss things and to point out details, and then we move on, right? Like I said, this is something I'm well practiced in. I've been doing the Trek Lore Run for over a year at this point, very, very off and on in our incredibly copious amounts of spare time. So, what we've got here is empty, devoid, like, you can see the trick they're going with here. You can see exactly how they're trying to cheapen this. But I think what I love most is... You can kind of tell that those are trees, and you can kind of tell those are walkways. You can kind of tell that's a hut. But my favorite thing about this is apparently we've fallen into Morrowind or Turok because the fog is like right there. In fact, actually, if you're paying attention, the fog is inconsistent. Where that fog line is should be hitting that major tree in the left center, and instead it's just covering the background, which actually shows that the fog is actually part of the background. And not actually a fog that's actually covering everything. In fact, it's very likely that there is no fog at all, is what I'm trying to actually get to. No, hear me out for a second. Notice how there's no fog whatsoever on anything in the foreground, but in the background, the trees just kind of fade into the blue. In other words, there's probably just the blue background, and the trees just kind of fade out against it, and that would be both cheaper and easier to do. Music notes coming out of the thing. Gotta have music notes, very important.
Some people call me negative. They don't like my frown.
I'm sorry. So I wanted to draw attention to 2 things very quickly. Please do me a favor and watch their faces. Because you can tell that the animators just wanted to randomly do random things, adjusting. Like if we actually go back here, oh, it's good. Like his pupils dilating there. Why do his pupils dilate there? Someone please explain to me. Why randomly in the middle of the song, some animator who was bored that day decided to have his pupils dilate in the middle of the song? Also, incredibly low frame rate, of course it is. But I also love that incredible motion capture. Remember, they actually had motion capture for his lip syncing. I just want you to process. I want you to understand that they actually used motion capture, also to capture his hands, by the way. Also, really quick side note. Apparently they're on Earth. Like, that's just Australia on that globe in the background.
Wow. They all try to cheer me up, but I'm down with being down. I know what you're thinking.
I say without hyperbole, I know this is how the Trek Lore Run runs. We're minute 32 and I've already paused like 5 times. You notice how the lip flapping is actually worse than in Warcraft 3? And Warcraft 3 has very stylized lip flapping because they basically couldn't do lip flaps. So everyone just has a static animation that they say as part of their talking animation, right? This is terrible. You'll also notice the motion capture, the lip flapping doesn't sync up with English at all. Remember, this is a French show, which wasn't translated to English either a few months or a few years later, depending. So we might have a Advent Children situation here. I'm not even sure, to be 100% honest with you, if these lip flaps make more sense if they're speaking French, because they absolutely do not make sense in English.
He's a genius, cause I am, cause I'm cranky. I got my finger on the beat, yeah, I'm cranky. The oldest, wisest ape you'll ever meet. For example, you come to see the most prized possession on the entire island. Who do you come to see? Me. Well, now that we got that straight, give your eyeballs a swing over there. It's magical, it's mysterious, it's the 8.5 wonder of the world, the crystal coconut! This is no ordinary crystal. It's a fortune teller, a teleporter, a power supplier, and a wish fulfiller. In other words, whoever's got the coconut rules. Step right up and take a closer look.
Who is he talking to? Who are you talking to, Cranky? In fact, why did you begin this by playing on your pipe organ? Who is? I'm so confused. Okay. So, yes, he's speaking directly into your mind. He wants you to... Yeah, I know he's talking to the audience, and I don't buy that. But let's go ahead and discuss that for just a second. Let's go ahead and discuss. Thank you very much, Cycloud. Always appreciate the sub. If you give me a moment, I'll write those down. New Zelda has not been funded yet. I know the website isn't actually up to date yet, but... dlit 3D dot game heroes and oh god, what's the new Zelda called? I can't remember its name all of a sudden. Someone help me out. Anyways, let's talk about the fourth wall and its purpose in television. Echoes of Wisdom, thank you. So this is so... I'm so glad to finally be covering a show live, and it's this one. Breaking the fourth wall in any kind of work is something that needs to be done like any other tool. It needs to be done precisely, and you need to be careful with its usage. If you're going to break the fourth wall, generally speaking, there are two major ways to do so. And one of those ways could just be described by the word humor. Yes, it is, Act. Deadpool. It's easy to explain because all I have to do is say Deadpool. He's mainstream enough now. Oh, I know. I already... Sorry. Okay. For those who didn't hear me, just like a lot of old TV shows, there's an argument over which episode is which with regards to what the play order is. I'm going based off of Wikipedia, which usually has more accurate information, but it doesn't really matter because we're only covering 4 episodes anyways. That's also why I'm specifically putting the name in there so you can tell which specific episode, Bad Hair Day. This is probably one of those first in production orders or first in release orders, which is usually why there's this kind of inconsistency. That's why a lot of shows will actually specifically list the production code alongside the episode title so that you know the order in which things. It's also informative. Like, for example, quick diatribe. Over on TNG in season 1, I can't remember the name of the episode. Hang on a second. There's a terrible episode in season 1 of TNG. Try to be shocked. And... it's obvious that it's the first episode they made. Is this it? No, hang on. Is this it? Oh. Is this it? I don't remember the name of it. That's the problem. The episode names in season 1 were just kind of wild. Here it is. Haven. So Haven was the 11th episode released, but it was one of the first episodes produced, which, so you're probably thinking, which episode's Haven? That's the one where Troy finds out her one true love is actually on this plague ship, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the point is, that episode noticeably sucks. Yeah, it was actually the first Loxana episode. That episode sucks in terms of production quality. Some of the sets are noticeably worse than some of the previous episodes. Some of the actors are kind of stiff and weird. Some of the literal costumes and the makeup job on Data and stuff like that, it's all worse because it was the first one production wise. So you kind of see some of this stuff, even if you're not really paying attention, even if you don't really care, because it's just like, hang on, that's strange. Similar concept like that. So back to Donkey Kong Country for a second. Fourth wall. Humor. One of the biggest reasons you can break the fourth wall is because it's funny, because I don't tell anyone, but I break the fourth wall all the time on my show. But that's not for funny purposes. That's because I see your messages, Triaxia, although Twitch is definitely being a pain today. So that's the big reason. I don't even feel the need to explain that. It's funny to break the fourth wall. But even if we're going to branch down, like we've got the two branches of fourth wall breaks. If we go over here to humor, there's actually two branches again. One is precise and one is all the time. The all the time is obvious. Deadpool. Again, Deadpool constantly breaks the fourth wall. It's his shtick. But there are other examples of this where they will only break the fourth wall very, very rarely or sparingly as a specific nod to the audience. Airplane is a good example of this, or Animaniacs dips into this kind of a thing. It's the kind where you just kind of quietly, da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, like, hey, Bob, what do you think of this? I don't know, what do you think of this? Maybe we should go like this. Yeah, and just a moment of, huh? And then they go back into it. And that can help a moment work. But you'll notice in both cases, it's still for comedic effect. The other reason is when you're trying to do something weird. I know that's a broad generalization, but it's true. If you're trying to do some kind of metaphysical thing or examination of the narrative or whatever, you could I'm not going to spoil any examples, but you can probably think of examples in games, especially, where they like to break the fourth wall as kind of a thing to try and indicate that something off is going on. Like the interface starts getting weird and creepy, and you start to get quest messages that don't really sound like they're from the NPC you got. It's stuff like that, right? You'll notice neither of these apply here. What's happening here is one of the characters is just straight up turning to the audience and explaining the premise of the show to us. This isn't funny. This isn't weird. What is this? And I hate to slam down on this, but the thing is, there's actually another thing. There's one other category I didn't really talk about. And I didn't talk about it because it's usually arguably not even fiction. It's when we have something that's more educational. And I know that sounds strange because usually we think of boring, dry stuff when it comes to education, but education can be all kinds of things, including some rather entertaining things. Dora the Explorer is actually probably one of the better examples of this type of thing, although there are other examples as well, where the audience is functionally a part of the show because the show is here to inform the audience, right? So they'll turn to the audience and say, hey, can you see the crystal coconut on the screen? And then the characters will usually pause for a second for the children, and when I say children, I mean like 4 and under, you know, babies, toddlers, to look at the screen and go, it's right there. And then they think, there it is. And they'll do stuff like that. Now that can work too. Obviously, just like anything else, that can be good or that can be bad. Execution matters. But once again, that doesn't apply here. This show absolutely is not aimed at children. It's certainly not an intelligent show, but the point is there's a vibe to what a kid's show is, right? And again, the big relevant point tends to be educational. It tends to be trying to teach you something, either how to pronounce a word or how to spot something or how to pay attention or how to remember beats or whatever, right? Whether it's Super Kitties or whether it's Dora the Explorer or whether it's Bluey or whatever. Bluey's a bad example. Not Bluey. Blue's Clues. There we go. Blue's Clues. Whatever it is. Sorry, I was getting my names confused. It is something designed to try and engage the mind of a toddler. And that's the other thing. I guess we could go down this rabbit hole. I mean, that's how these lore ones work, right? So let's talk about what a kid's show is, because a kid's show is aimed for kids, right? What you may or may not know is that the definition I'm using is more or less the official definition, aka 1 through 6. So if you are a literal baby, or if you're up to about 6 years old, that is the range right there for kids show. And if you ever hear me push back against the idea that, say, Batman the Animated Series is a kid's show, that's why. That's the reason I tend to push back against that sort of thing. Now, granted, we're running into a bit of a terminology issue, and I understand that, but that's why I'm defining it right now. You look at these kind of things and you see, this is made for children. This is made for people who probably aren't even in school yet, or if they are, it's kind of a pre-K sort of a thing. So This is designed to be the kind of thing that is mostly bright, shiny, catches their attention, but most importantly of all, has a degree of interactivity to it. You see a show like Batman the Animated Series, or Animaniacs, or My Little Pony, or Oz, or anything like that, and what you see is something more aimed for a different audience group that can still appeal to younger people, but isn't really a kids show, because a kids show's very format is different. A kids show is designed at its very core to be something that is trying to engage a mind that is starting to understand the concept of engagement. A mind that may not even be able to speak yet, right? Yeah, kids shows don't deal with suicide, to put it into very, very simple terminology, which several of the shows I just mentioned absolutely do. Now, obviously, you're probably thinking, well, what's the name for the other thing? Actually, they have a term for it. It's called young adult. Young adult shows is the official terminology for the. It's actually from 10. I don't know why it skips from 6 to 10. Don't ask me. It's from 10 to like 22 or something like that. And then from 22 and up, it's considered, whatever. That's just all hands off. Although there's another category, which is like 50 plus. We're not going to talk about that. Yeah, Y7, that's actually a much more truncated version to describe this whole concept. Excuse me. So, yeah, the 50, we don't talk about 50 plus shows. I've seen 50 plus shows. They're terrifying. Can I give an example of a young adult show? Yeah, My Little Pony. I just did. Also Batman the Animated Series. Also Animaniacs. I just listed several of these. Now, yeah, Rebels, actually, that's another good example. The Star Wars show, Rebels. And arguably Clone Wars, while we're on the subject. Now, there's a near universal thing where a lot of these shows are saddled with that rating or with that thing at the beginning. And then as the show is allowed to develop, they start to, like, push back against it, right? And they try to do things for more, like, mature audiences, for lack of a better way to put it. They're trying to... We need to come up with that term at some point. We need to come up with that term that replaces dark. Because that's what they want. They want more dark storytelling. They want more serious, more processed, more what I would call mature storytelling, but doesn't involve boobs. What's 50 plus? You ever heard of Days of Our Lives? So there's a... You haven't? Oh, you haven't. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna make something up on the fly. I was not prepped for this. You see, you got to work for me. You got to work for me, okay? Yeah, General Hospital is another example of this. So I want you to imagine a show that is 20 plus story arcs that are all going simultaneously. But they're terribly acted, and every single one of them only usually gets an average of about 30 to 40 seconds of screen time before it moves on to the next one. And that's roughly what the 50 plus range stuff is. It's a format. It's a format that's been around for quite a while, actually. And yes, it's insane, Mr. Red. It's so crazy. Because, remember, every single one of them is drama. So, like, hang on. Let me, give me a second. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find something here. That'll work. Okay, so let me just make up some stuff here. Mr. Red, we need to talk. What is it, Floor? You don't understand, Mr. Red. I'm afraid I have news about your mother. And then the scene will very, very abruptly cut to, like, a completely different scene. And then I'm over here reading through a paper. Oh, hello, off the deeper end. How's your day going? Well, my day is going well. How's your day going? Oh, it's going well, but, you know, what I could really use today? I could use a bit of soup, just like back in the day. And then it cuts to, like, a third group. And we're over here at the third group now. And it's like, and now it's Magister. And Magister is like, so you see. Lore, I need to be honest with you about something. I'm like, what is it, Magister? What is it? Tell me, Magister! Tell me, Magister! And Magister's like, I've started replaying World of Warcraft. And then we cut to a fourth group. And the fourth group is literally robbing someone. Like, they've got guns. And they're really cheap fake guns. And they're like, oh my god, we've got to invade this place. We've got to get in there. And we've got to get the item. We've got to get in there and we've got to steal the thing. What's this? No, that's not it. No, that's not it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I don't understand. Where's the item? I need to steal the item! And then it does this several more times. And if you're lucky, a single plotline will get shown more than once in a given episode. Occasionally, they'll even be shown 3 times in a given episode. You know that's a big episode, right? Yeah, and then there's a commercial. That's the 50-plus stuff. That's what that's there for. No judgment if you're into that. I somewhat recently, just a couple of years ago, was in a situation where functionally all I could do was watch that show. And so that's why it's so relatively fresh in my mind. It's because it's absolutely... Oh, God, it burned. It burned. It was all that was on the TV in a contained room, and I couldn't go anywhere, and I was stuck there for hours. Why would 50-plus people enjoy their time being wasted? Real answer? Because they haven't discovered video games yet. I am dead serious. As people get older, there's a general tendency to want to do more, but a difficulty in doing more. Like, they want to stay active, but they have trouble doing so, right? They're tired, or they hurt, or they haven't had their meds, or they just can't do the things they want to do anymore. There's actual evidence, real scientific evidence that's still in the process of being pushed through, that being able to allow some of these older people to play video games to pass their time, because they have lots of time all of a sudden in their older age, actually helps them, like literally helps them to push back against things like dementia and other early onset memory loss kind of a things. And so that's a thing that I've been quietly in favor of, not because I'm a video game guy, but because it makes perfect sense. A video game is by definition interactive. It's something you're doing and seeing the results of. And weirdly enough, bizarrely enough, the game that has been, I actually am aware of Grandma Gamer, or Grandpa Gamer, excuse me. I'm also aware of Grandma Gamer. The game that has been studied the most to do this is, weirdly enough, freaking Skyrim. Of all terrible, terrible games, it's freaking Skyrim. But it actually makes sense if you think about it, because Skyrim is a very large game with a huge amount to do, that there's no rush in any direction, and frankly is also really, really easy. It is an extraordinarily accessible game. It's playable on a huge quantity of, they've re-released it 50 times, but that also means it's runnable on virtually anything. It is very easy to get, a Skyrim into the hands of someone who's older. And it's a game that they can do a lot in, and it still is a game. There is still voice acting, quests, dialogue, dungeons, loot, games, levels. There's still game there. So as much as I spit venom at Skyrim, and I do, I will always praise it for the fact that it managed to hit that perfect sweet spot. Because if we keep going to something like, say, Starfield, you've dripped off the ledge. You've gone too far. But earlier stuff like Oblivion or Fallout 3 is just going to be too inaccessible to someone who's in their 60s, right? Skyrim managed that sweet spot, and so I will always give it praise for that. Anyways, so we have derailed massively here. I'm sorry, Mr. Red. I'd rather do anything than watch this episode. No, Mr. Red, put down the knife! Put down the knife! And then we get back to the episode. So what I'm trying to get at, all of this, I'm talking too much, is all a way to say that this sucks. The fact that they're... You know me, I like to do my due diligence. All of this is a way to explain how much this sucks, because they're breaking the fourth wall and explaining the premise to us for no goddamn reason. This is the kind of thing that is so out of date and so terrible that it was actually declined from the Twilight Zone. No. The original Twilight Zone. The original intended pilot pitch for the Twilight Zone. Back in the 60s or 50s or 80s or 70s or whatever the hell it was. Actually, I should look that up. When was the very first Twilight Zone? Let's get an exact date. Let's figure this out. 1959. Back in 1959, they were pushing the Twilight Zone. And, oh, sorry, I'm actually wrong. It was actually 58. Because the original episode that was pushed out in 1958, November 24th, 1958, was an episode which just straight up talked to the audience and explained the premise. And among many other reasons, they said no, because even in 1958, talking to the audience and explaining the premise was considered bad.
Crystal will explain it all. That's Donkey Kong, the strongest, brawniest, hippest ape in all of Congo Bongo. Our protector and future king.
Where is his tie attached?
Got a lot of muscle mass, but not so much brain mass. But he...
Now, I got to complain about two more things very quickly. Please do me a favor. Let's rewind for just a second here. Please do me a favor and watch Donkey's face very carefully. His head. Okay, watch his head. You watching?
And future king. Got a lot...
Do you see how it's kind of vibrating there?
But not so much.
That makes sense considering that's a person who's being motion captured. So there's like a bit of an inconsistency in the capture, so it's just kind of vibrating a little bit as he's standing here. This brings me to the other thing. Sound effects. I'm going to go ahead and admit that I don't like cartoony sound effects when it comes to these kind of things. You know what I mean, because here it is. Listen.
Brain mass.
The ding. So sound effects when it comes to this kind of a thing in television are there to try and accent a moment. They're there to draw the audience's attention to something, and it is the literal equivalent of the sign back in the old game shows that just says applaud now, right? Or applause, and it'll light up and the audience is supposed to applaud, and then when it stops, they go away, right? So, oh yeah, absolutely off the deep end. I'm not even sure when motion capture was actually invented off the top of my head. Oh, I saw Mr. Ed. I saw the nightmare. I had nightmares all night. These kind of sound effects, they're just shorthand for, hey, a silly thing's happening. If there was any evidence that this show was intended at some point in existence to be a kids show, this is it. Because you almost universally see this usage of sound effect in kids shows. It is there so that the children can process, oh, that's a funny, and react appropriately. You've probably seen at least some kids shows which do a thing where you will literally hear a laugh track. In fact, this is actually one of the biggest reasons why they did this for sitcoms for so long, was so that the people who were not there in the audience could process, oh, this is the moment where we're supposed to laugh. Intelligent shows will use the laugh track as part of the narrative and as a way to help emphasize a scene. But here it just feels wrong. Like, there's no joke here. Donkey Kong has a lot of muscle, but not a lot of brains. Isn't a joke. That's just an insult. It's also true of literally everyone in this entire show, by the way. I'm just going to spoil that for you. If you don't like the Idiot Ball, congratulations. You're watching Idiot Ball, the show. Every single character, 100% of them, have the Idiot Ball all the time in this show.
He is the bongo biggie, the top banana that can keep the crystal coconut safe and sound and out of the wrong claws. Whose claws? That slimy, scaly, foul-breathed lizard, King K. Rool, professional bad guy, the big daddy of evil. K-Rool, he's here.
What you got? A big fat gun. Hip hop, what you got? Hip hop, got a lot. Peters! Honk! General Clump, I order you to seize the coconut.
Why are his eyes so wrong? Why are his arms so wrong? Why are his legs so wrong? What are they doing here? You know, actually, that's a good point, Lord, but I can't argue against that. This is the weirdest example. Like, one of the reasons I actually thought for just a few seconds about actually sitting down and jotting down negatives for individual points just for fun. And then I realized that it would be so crazy to do so, because I would just be like, okay, so negative for this, and then negative for this, and then negative for this, and then negative for this. Okay, unpause, pause 20 seconds later. By the way, these episodes, if you're not paying attention, are extremely condensed. We are 2 minutes and 29 seconds into this episode, and it's already been so many levels of bad that we've been talking for 40 minutes.
Claptrap weapons at the ready.
By the way, did you notice the fog wasn't even there at that point?
Wow, nice fat target! How can we miss?
Not me, you idiots! At Cranky's cabin!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've been analyzing fiction for 13 years and in a few weeks here. And I am actually having trouble processing how bad this is on basically every single level. Like, just pacing, animation, music choice, sound balancing. You notice it's actually hard to understand what they're saying at several times. Voice acting. Oh yeah, by the way, several people have asked why we're only covering 4 episodes. Anyways.
Hey, you mutant newts! You overgrown spineless salamanders! Get away from there! Donkey Kong, where are you?
Okay, I'm sorry to continue pointing out things like this. But you like how only some things have shadows? Like, have you noticed? Have you noticed that, like, there's shadows from the trees' leaves, but the trees themselves cast no shadow? And the house has no shadow? It has shading on the house, but there's no shadow from the house. There's just sun there.
Why do I always have to start the day with a tough decision?
What is with the pupil thing they keep doing?
Yeah, down here!
Hey, Diddy! Come on up, little buddy!
What, in this thing? I don't know, DK. I'm a little nervous. My knees are starting to chatter here after what happened last time.
It's cool. That's been fixed. Hop in and I'll buzz you up.
Okay, if you say so, DK, okay, but go easy, because sometimes, DK, no offense here, but you get a little out of control.
Diddy? Little buddy?
Yeah, down here.
Donkey Kong!
We gotta bust a move, Diddy. Cranky needs our help. You coming or what?
When you have a 22, which is a show that's structured around 22 minutes with commercial breaks appropriate, you tend to have to be very dense. It's one of the things, like, this show has bad pacing, even for a 22. But you tend to want to have a lot of things happen in a short period of time, because you don't have any time to waste, right? Any plot beats, or any character moments, or any setting buildings, or any humorous or action scenes, or whatever, you can't waste any time with a 22, right? We'll probably see this with Tangled. We've already seen this with MLP. Hell, we just saw this with Cyberpunk, right? Cyberpunk Edge Runners was a 22. So imagine spending about 1 minute and 40 seconds, which doesn't sound like a long time, but again, every minute counts, on what can only be referred to as the dumbest gag in the world. And that's the thing. You probably don't know this because you haven't watched me before, because you don't know who I am. Hi, I'm the Lore Runner. My name is Lore. First name Laura, last name Runner. I've analyzed humor. I have specifically analyzed humor before. And humor is actually, there's a lot of, ironically, math and formulas that go into how humor is designed. And good humor is the kind of thing that, even if you don't get the joke, is the kind of thing you can usually recognize, right? There's also a lot of specific things which come down to types of humor, timings of humor, how humor is presented, etc. So we have 1 minute and 40 seconds of what can only be referred to as hitting the rake on the lawn, because that's all this is. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds. In fact, we'll go ahead and cover through this. It takes a solid 20 seconds to set up the gag, and then another 1 minute and 20 just to follow through on it as he's just going through and, like, oh my god, and it's so, yeah, the whole joke is bonk. Oh, that hurt. That's it. That's the joke. It's usually called physical humor, or sometimes slapstick humor, which is fine, of course. But that is the entirety of the joke being portrayed here, is whoops, crash, oh, that hurt. And I hate to once again point this out. Hang on. Sideshow Bob, Rake. What was that episode? Let's look this up. Let's do this here. Oh yeah, it also showcases how Donkey Kong is a terrible friend. So that's cool. Where the hell was that episode? What was the first episode that had this stupid rake? Looks like it was Cape Fear. Now, I swear there's a reason I'm doing this. Cape Fear came out on October of 1993, okay? I swear I'm going somewhere with this. This episode, give me a sec. Came out in September of 96. So 3 years after Cape Fear. Now you're thinking, what's the significance? Cape Fear made a specific point of how that gag is so stupid that they wanted to add another layer to it. That's why the repetition of the rake meme exists. That's the whole reason it's there. Is because the slapstick gag of haha this hurts was something that was already considered passé 3 years before this episode came out. And I know that's the second time I've made that type of comparison of this is something that was already old before this episode came out. But here we are. And yeah, also that's another thing. Savacom breaks up a very interesting point. This isn't haha Donkey's so stupid. This is being portrayed as if Donkey is like not, or I'm saying that wrong. It's not Donkey's an asshole. It's that he's that stupid that he legitimately doesn't understand because he is so stupid that you're physically wondering how he's continuing to breathe every day. Now watch his walking animation here. Do me a favor. Watch his walking animation.
Gotta bust a move, Diddy. Cranky needs our help. You coming or what?
Right behind you, DK.
And then we have our first commercial break. Now, let's talk about the concept of the cold open. Oh, we've got a lot to talk about. Don't worry. I swear each of these won't be this long. At least Homer understands basic freaking physics. The concept of the cold open, especially in older television, although this is still true to this very day, is it needs to do two things very quickly and efficiently. It needs to hook new viewers, and it needs to hook existing viewers, so that we have some idea of where the episode's going, what's going on, themes, concepts, plots, threat, character, whatever, right? I've talked before about how there's several different types of episodes. You get your mystery episodes, your threat episodes, your dilemma episodes, your character episodes, your slice of life episodes, and I think I missed one. Each one of those, you can get across a feel and a vibe in the cold open of what kind of episode it's going to be, even if it's just an action pick, right? That's fine. And there's a lot of talent and skill that goes into a good cold open. Also, how long you want it to be. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's 3 minutes, sometimes it's 6 minutes. The concept of the cold open was very alive and well back in the 90s. Nowadays, people still kind of use the cold open. Like New Trek, for example, has cold opens, but they're not really. Like New Trek has like 12-minute cold opens. It's absolutely insane. So what we just saw was functionally the cold open. Once we get past the intro, it's like, hey, let me explain the plot and the characters to you. Oh no, here's the bad guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and have a bad guy scene. Arcane actually does have cold opens, funnily enough. And they do that. And then we see Donkey just being an asshole for a second and beating the crap out of his friend. And then they go off to save the day. Cold open over. What is conveyed in this? This is an absence of conveyance, if I might be so bold. There is no hook whatsoever. There's no hook for new players, viewers. There's no hook for old viewers who are already into the show. There's an indicative. It is very indicative of the type of show this is. And you've probably just seen exactly how this episode is going to go. So I'll give you that one. But the only thing that there's showcase is there's this MacGuffin, which the bad guys are after, and the good guys, who are assholes, are going to go prevent them from getting. And that's it. That's not... There's nothing there. There's nothing there. When did Batman the Animated Series come out? Hang on. Let's keep using contemporaries here. Let's see. Batman the Animated Series started going live in 1992. In fact, sorry, Batman the Animated Series finished its entire run before this show even came out. And Batman TAS was definitely a show that had a good structure with regards to its cold opens. Usually you'd see the villain you're going to see that particular week and some kind of indicative of what it is Bats is going to have to be dealing with and why and how. And it was some good stuff. Cool. This is not that. Moving on. Fog's gone. There's a really blurry JPEG in the background, though.
Follow me! We're, moving in. Hip, hop, hip, hop, slammer!
Whap 'em, mash 'em, crush 'em to smithereens!
No mercy!
This is my finest hour.
Banana slammer!
And because it's easier to animate people being landing on a thing and then that. Notice how all that's actually animated there is their feet. They get flung off in the distance. Oh yeah, by the way, their catchphrase is banana slammer. You probably missed it earlier because the audio balancing is absolutely terrible. I'm sorry, I love how badly animated everything about this shot is. This is so bad. It's so bad. Oh my god. So yeah, so we have the cheap fight back because they have all these, you know, traps that I guess Cranky could have used, but decided not to because they have Banana Slammer. Did you also notice that Kleppa, I think it was Kleppa, he was the military guy, was just literally quoting random quotes from random military movies? Like, no connection between them. He was just randomly quoting stuff. And the whole time Diddy was talking about how much they're going to beat the everling crap out of them and kill them and crush them and destroy them. Oh, they're dead.
Hey, Karoo, what's up?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I hate to complain about this, but there's this weird thing where they always call him Karul instead of King K. Rool. K. Rool is how it's pronounced. I know that's a weird thing to get knocked up, you know, to get stumbled on, but it's not cruel. That's the joke. Anyways.
Donkey Kong, Diddy, it was a good match. You won, I lost. Good sportsmanship and all that. I'm just an underprivileged reptile. Let's blame it on my genes. We're,
You did it, DK, you saved the coconut!
Do you think you two apes can break up your party long enough to fix up my roof? Preferably before Karul comes back.
I hate everything about this show. This is another time to mention that King K. Rool's actor is actually someone who a lot of people back in the day recognized. I, of course, do not, because I'm an idiot. But that is Ben Campbell. And the problem is I didn't really watch a lot of animated stuff. Not really back in the day. He was in Bernstein Bears, Neverending Story, Highlander, the animated series, Magical School Bus, Toys Adventures. He was a fairly well-known cartoon actor back in the day. And he's done some stuff. That's all I'm going to get. Ben Campbell was his name. And he's probably the only actor who does a decent job acting in the entire show. He aspires to the levels of being a neutral, not a positive or a negative when it comes to his voice acting. Whereas everyone else, have I mentioned how terrible everyone else's actor is? Like, we already kind of briefly talked about how awful Donkey is with his weird, I'm trying to sound Jamaican, but I'm not voice acting. Or Diddy, who sounds desperately like they're trying to, I think it's actually a woman. No, it is, because it's the same woman who voices Yoshi, back in the Mario Brothers show. How much she's trying desperately to sound like a kid and failing at it. Oh yeah, we haven't even gotten to Funky yet. Oh yeah, and then there's Cranky, who thinks that just gargling is the best way to do voice acting. and none of them have anything approaching like actual president. Like, I know you're saying, Laura, you're expecting too much, but I just want to make it very clear on how many different levels this show fails. Because it fails at all of them. That's the answer. It fails at everything.
Because you can bet he will.
I need that blasted coconut! Now that I'm nothing but a lowly lizard, a prehistoric throwback! I am ordering you to delete, exterminate, annihilate a simple-minded ape.
But he eliminated, exterminated, and, yes, annihilated your entire army. He's invincible.
It's the bananas that make him invincible. But what if...
Yes?
What if we cast a spell? A curse?
A curse?
Yes, a curse.
Why? I'm sorry to keep pointing out the obvious, but why was his reaction to a book falling down to do the sound effect flee off screen thing? Like, seriously, watch this for a second. What kind of rationale is it when a book is falling to do this? In fact, I wasn't even going to hit him.
Curse. Here it is. Curse your way to the top.
I'm not even going to mention the fact that the exact book came out of the library without any kind of interaction or prompting, or that when he opened it up, it immediately went directly to the page he wanted.
Success through voodoo. Tired of looking like a goof. Sick of those pesky hunks showing you up time and time again.
Why are those female monkeys weirdly sexualized here? I'm sorry, is that just me? That's uncomfortable.
Try this.
Also, I'm sorry. I know that it's common, but I want you to really take a moment, because you can see nice and highlight. Look at the text in that. Look at the text in that. Bluesklifer girl, Tiener Plurger, Mikler, Volksberg. It's just someone mashing the keyboard. That's literally all it is. You can see it right there. Someone just was like blah, 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 space, blah, 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 space, blah, 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 blah. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Time and time again. Try this foolproof curse. Yes. While cutting the obnoxious lout's hair, chant snip, clip, power slip. You're a wimp and that's it. He'll be left as weak as a baby and...
God's woods door toy Gert. Give for you in
Listen to this. His strength will not return unless his hair grows back. That's it. Cut Donkey Kong's hair, and before it grows back, I'll have a coconut.
But, who'll, cut his hair?
It's so obvious. The only person he'll let get close enough to him. You wouldn't know a good plan if it hit you in the head.
I would too, if it hit me in the head.
Please laugh. Please laugh. Laugh, goddammit! Whoops. What? What?
Stupid now.
What? Hang on.
And
What just
before
happened?
it grows back,
That was very strange.
I'll
Yeah.
know a good plan.
Looking fine, DK. What's up?
I've gotta look good,
You do?
but I gotta look especially smooth. I'm dropping in on Candy. It's her birthday.
Candy, Candy, Candy. She's just a girl, DK. You can't have fun with a girl like we.
Okay, so I'm sorry. You're probably expecting me to be irritable at the fact that they're doing the, hey, you can't have fun with girls thing, wah wah. But actually, the problem here is that Diddy has a girlfriend in this show. So,
We do?
She's the gorilla of my dreams. If only I could get her away from...
Buster Barrel Works. Ah! It's right here, in this very place that they build the barrels. Unfortunately, the place is run by that upwardly mobile jerk, Buster.
Also, for some reason, Cranky is still explaining stuff to us, the audience.
When it comes to candy, Buster is Donkey Kong's biggest competition. She's got a soft spot for DK. But then, Buster's got the goodies, and someday, the Bluster barrel works. Uh-oh. Here comes the boss.
Hey, Candy. Surprise!
Okay, so first of all, do me a favor and please admire how horrifically nightmarish that Candy looks here. Like, hang on, let's rewind just a second to really see that body shot. Like, just... It's also doubly funny. Candy is the only person wearing anything below her waist, for what can only be referred to as obvious reasons. I hate to call your attention to her boobs, but you can kind of tell in this shot, it'll be more obvious in later shots, that her boobs are literally wrong. Not because they're too big, although that is part of it, but they're too big and the wrong size and the wrong everything. No, I want you to stare at her furry boobs. Just stare at them. Stare at them! Because what I want you to understand is that it literally offsets her entire build. Like, her body is the wrong proportions because of that. Like, her legs are weird and wrong. And she's got this giant ball where her hips should be. And then there's this weird torso thing. And then she's balancing like a top on top of her. And then her head is completely the wrong shape and size for the rest of her body.
Got the goodies, and...
But don't worry, we're about to meet the best character in the show.
Here comes the boss.
Hey, Candy. Surprise!
A birthday cake. How original, Bluster.
Yes, I am a thoughtful son of a gun. Happy birthday. Banana cream, your favorite.
Rejected. Watching my figure.
Don't bother. I'm watching it for ya.
Oh my god, the dialogue. The dialogue. One of the reasons I keep using contemporary works to explain how bad this show is because I want to make it very clear that even in the 90s, this show sucked. But if you know me at all, you know that I kind of don't care because there is such a concept as timelessness. You know, there are movies from the 60s, 50s, 70s that are still good today. And there's games from the 80s and onwards that are still good today. Just because I really want you to process. Let's go through that dialogue again really quick.
Watching my figure.
Don't bother. I'm watching it for ya.
Yeah, okay, that's aged very well. You can also see a little bit of her gigantic boobs here. And by gigantic, I mean they're not even that big. They're just wrong. Look at them! Look at her boobs!
I don't think so.
The machine! No! No! That was close. So, we gonna go back to my place on the Copa Banana, or what?
I made plans.
With him?
Hi, Donkey Kong.
Happy birthday, Candy.
You can't be serious. I try to do nice things, but
I brought you these. Ooh, I was gonna get you a cake, but I see you already got one.
Donkey Kong? Every single time you show up, things just fall apart. Both of you are just a couple of pains in the butt.
Yay!
Oh yeah, by the way, she is blaming Donkey for the fact that Bluster just came over and smashed a cake down on her head. Did you catch that? Because Candy just blamed Donkey for Bluster smashing a cake on her face.
Ouch!
You're out of here.
I guess this means our date's off, huh?
General...
And yes, she just canceled their date on her birthday. She just...
How's the plan coming along? Is it done yet?
This is your finest hour.
Okay, let's talk about structure. So, there's usually a lot of shows will do a thing where there's an A plot and a B plot. And usually, in a good show, these two plots dovetail into each other, either thematically or literally or in terms of character or something, right? They complement each other. In other words, both plots are made better by the opposite plot. Every single episode, let me say that very clearly, every single episode of this show is either a threat to the coconut by either King K. Rool or someone else we'll see later. Actually, I'm not sure we'll see him. That's the A plot, and then the B plot is Bluster and or Donkey trying to get in Candy's pants. Every single episode. Now, you're probably thinking, so, like, usually saving the ship from a threat of the week is the plot of every Star Trek show. I want you to imagine if that was literally true. I want you to imagine Star Trek The Next Generation, or your favorite Star Trek show. And yet, every single episode, 100% of them, all of them are, oh my God, there's an anomaly that's going to destroy the ship. Or, oh my God, there's a ship that's going to destroy the ship. Oh my God, there's a bomb that's going to destroy the ship. And meanwhile, in the background, insert captain is trying desperately to bang insert other character. Yeah, imagine if that was every episode. And yes, I am analyzing this seriously. That is my job. This show we could make fun of and we can laugh at and we can have, this is actually a pretty good show to just kind of get drunk on and watch, You get some friends together, kind of like what we're doing here, and just have like a watch party. That can be fun. But I want you to understand that this is how you do not do television. That this show really is a fairly good textbook of how not to do television. This does not succeed at any level. Speaking of, hang on, but I love how Rax has refused to be here because he doesn't want to be tainted by this. So, what's the A plot here? Well, obviously King K. Rool wants the crystal coconut, because remember, that's the plot of every episode. But what's the method he's going to use? I'll just let him explain his genius plan.
Despite the head not being attached, she does look real. Hello. I'm King Karoo. What's your name?
My name is Candy. Happy to meet you.
She's perfect. Put her head back on.
You heard him, troops.
Oh, I'm sorry. Put the head back on? Why did you detach her head to begin with? Oh, sorry. Did I mention that every single episode has 2 song numbers in it? Because every single episode also has 2 musical numbers in it. Now, let's talk about My Little Pony. So, in the show that I mean when I say MLP, which is Friendship is Magic, which I believe is Gen 5, or excuse me, Gen 4, they often like to dovetail songs into the middle of the narrative. It doesn't happen in every episode, of course, but it is the kind of thing that's semi-common, especially in the more aimed at youth episodes, like the Crusader episodes, for example. So it's a very common thing to have that musical show up. And would you believe, of course you would, because musicals are a very old concept, that there are rules with regards to how you approach music and how you use and design music. Generally speaking, you want music to expand itself diegetically within the construct of the narrative, whatever's happening at the time. It needs to be something that smoothly follows in and actually then is a song number that continues the narrative. In other words, the music doesn't interrupt the narrative. It is a part of it. It is a structural piece of said narrative. Okay? Now, the reason I bring up MLP and specifically is because one of my biggest complaints about MLP Gen 5, the more recent MLP show, which I am not a fan of personally, is that they just occasionally pause the episode to go have a musical number and then go back to the events of the episode as if nothing happened. In other words, the episode stopped, play music, okay, and then go back to episode, which is pretty much fundamentally and objectively how you do not approach musicals with regards to fiction. Speaking of, let's go ahead and have our first big musical number. Now, you're probably about to say, well, this is going to be diegetic. Obviously, we've just activated the robot, and she's going to sing something that's going to push the narrative forward, right?
I'm Candy, Conks only look like we're one and the same. I know what you're thinking. But honey, I'm no ordinary day. I'm sugary sweet, ooh, just like candy cane. My charm and good looks drive all the apes insane. Every monkey's dream for your evil scheme. It's so cool to work for King K. Rool.
Bravo! She lives! She lives! She could fool an idiot! Fool me! Now, snip, clip, power slip, you're a wimp and that's it! The curse on Donkey Kong. She'll cut his hair, which will cut his strength and cut him out of the picture!
Every now and again I see something that's so terrible that I feel legitimately bad about trying to explain how it's so bad. Like, it feels like it's imagine you're a food critic and someone comes out and just slaps some dog poo on the dish, and you're like, well, it's dog poo. It's not edible. It's not sanitary. It smells. The texture isn't going to be very palatable. It can't really be chewed, obviously. Like it feels weird to try and explain how bad what we just saw is. Did you notice that it's barely a song? Did you notice that no real info was portrayed? Did you notice that everyone was acting weird around her, even though nothing that was being said was particularly sexualized? They were doing that thing where they were like, whoa, baby, right? I should mention that this is one of those 10 episodes that was restructured in terms of dialogue, and I should mention that one of the biggest reasons they had to restructure the dialogue of those episodes was because they were too raunchy.
I blew it. She's never gonna talk to me again.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So back to the B plot. We're supposed to care for some reason about the fact, like, yeah, exactly, Willie said. Like, it feels so strange to explain this. He literally did nothing wrong at all. He, in fact, specifically brought her a treat in a considerate way. And then her boss slammed a cake down on her head, and now she'll never talk to him again. And this is the we're supposed to feel bad for him moment. Like, that's where we're at here. Also, you notice the brickwork is actually terrible on the ground there. It's uniquely terrible too. Have you paid attention to it at all? Because if you pay attention, you'll notice that it's warped. It at first glance, it looks like it's actually just a static image repeated, which it probably is. But you see how it's actually like distorted in a way so that it's like being twisted or something. And it's probably because what happened was they copy pasted the image, but then they realized that it didn't fully line up with the edges of the object, which is the walls there. So they decided to like just bend and warp it to finish there. Also, let's talk about doodads. This is Donkey Kong's room. Like, this is his whole room right here. We're seeing like 80% of his space. He's got a bench. He's got the mirror, which has his ties on it. He's got there's a vase over by the door for some reason. There's a single carpet, which doesn't match or fit anything. And he's also got a goddamned tire swing, which is just set dangling there for Diddy. This is vacuous. Oh yeah, he also has a bust of himself on his mirror. I'm not even going to point out the fact that the mirror has no real reflections on it. Let's just ignore that.
Ah, don't sweat it. You've blown it 100 times.
Oh, I'm wrong. He is reflected in the mirror. Wow. I was wrong.
1,000 times. 1,000,000 cajillion times.
Thanks.
Oh, yoo-hoo! Donkey Kong!
Candy! Hey, Banana Yama! Oh, she's Yama Bananas up! Wow!
You asking me in or what?
I forgot you were here!
I'm sorry, in the space of about 20 seconds, Donkey Kong is moping because he's lost his girlfriend forever. And then, actually, there's been a lot of reused animation. I've already noticed it. I'm not even sure I've noticed some of that before. And then he goes and randomly attacks his friend because, remember, he's an asshole. And then he comes over and he's all excited. And then she says, "Are you going to invite me?" And he's like, "Oh, I forgot you were here."
You don't know your own strength, Donkey Kong. We'll have to fix that. Snip, snip, power slip. You're a wimp, and that's it.
What?
Snip, snip, gonna clip. Make you my sweet and sexy chimp.
Okay, hold on. Everyone in chat. What extremely complicated, complex plan is she going to do? She has to convince him to let her cut his hair. She has to use all her wiles, all her wit, all her skills to convince him. What incredibly ingenious plan do you think she's going to use to convince him to let her cut his hair?
Come here, you hunk of love.
Okay then, chop chop.
Sheesh, what a goon. Oh, I can't watch this.
All done. That wasn't so bad, was it?
Yes, that's right. She asked him. That's it. Also, and I know I've actually pointed this out before, but it was off camera. When I screwed this up. I did a perfect showcasing of this earlier. I did a perfect showcasing of this because it wasn't on camera. I apologize for this. If you were to picture Donkey Kong's head there and what he looks like with his hair shaven, how many of you would have then immediately come up with this result? Because that's what his head looks like when his hair is shaven. Now, yes, I understand that what it is that they specifically just removed the texture from part of his body mesh. But there's a lot of implications here, is what I'm trying to say.
Do you like it?
Smooth. Too smooth.
Oh no, geek alert.
I just don't feel like myself.
Trust me, you'll get used to it. Well, I'm out of here.
I'll get the elevator for you.
Sure you will.
Huh?
Double huh?
Let me try, Donkey Kong. Nothing to it. You better take it easy, DK.
She's right. I'm pooped.
But DK, how could that be? What happened? You're the strongest ape in all of Congo Bongo.
Okay, so did you catch that Diddy is part of the, what happened? I'm so confused. Even though there were two separate cutaways to Diddy during the course of her cutting his hair, with him going, "Oh my God, I can't possibly watch," as if Diddy knew exactly what was happening. Also, did you notice that all of this happens very, very, very shortly? And during this course of action, Candy just goes up to give him a haircut. It's got to be monkey hair all over the ground now. And then leaves. And that's the date. On her birthday. And he has no issues with this, of course, because...
Beats me, but I'm beat.
Also, this show contains such wonderful dialogue as "beats me, but I'm beat."
Halt!
Cranky!
Oh yeah, enjoy Lizard Butt. For some reason, this show likes to shove King K. Rool's butt into your face. I don't know why.
Oh, Cranky! Come and meet and greet the new ruler of Congo Bongo.
Don't you ever give up.
Never give up when victory's at hand.
Crusher!
Your Majesty called. Go on, boy. Fetch the coconut.
What is that walking animation?
There's no match for mine. Donkey Kong! Help! Donkey Kong, where are you?
Banana Slammer! In your tracks, Crusher. This is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you.
Just label him, will you?
I'm gonna give you one last chance. Step back. Make a run for it. Okay, here it comes.
You're tickling me.
Here it comes. That was a warm-up. I'm gonna give it to you right now. Okay.
Even though everyone in the entire audience, including small children, knows exactly what's going to happen. Did you notice how long and dragged out that was? Actually, still is. This scene is still going.
Get up, Donkey Kong!
Does anyone else notice that? So what you're looking at is like there's the banana statues, right? And then there's like hand statues holding them. Do you notice that the scuff marks there look like blood? Like the hands of the gorilla statue are bloody. Is that just me? What has this statue been punching?
Get up, Donkey Kong! Get up!
You can't stop me now, Cranky. I win, you lose.
Stop right there! I'm warning you. You scum-sucking, rancid reptiles! This is bad.
So, the villain has won. Naturally, it's at about the 2/3 mark of the episode. That's how that works. And so the hero is in his darkest hour. The villain has succeeded. The hero has no power. We have to have the rejoinder. We have to have the rise from damage. And you can feel how the writers and creators of this show have heard of narrative production, have heard of construction of literary tropes before. Like through a xylophone that someone was playing in another language.
Really bad. What happened?
Ever since Candy cut my hair and told me she wanted to make me her little love slave.
Your hair?
I'm sorry. Okay, so first of all, this is now the 4th repetition of the fact that cutting the hair gets rid of the power, which we've not only been told, but we've actually been demonstrated twice. We get it. We're not 5. We understand that that's what's happening. Second point, you are willingly and openly admitting that you were willing to go along with becoming her love slave because of the fact that that's you. The way he says that sentence, he is saying that his motivation for letting her cut his hair was to specifically become her love slave.
Yeah, don't laugh. She gave me the once-over makeover.
Do I look like I'm laughing? You're under her curse.
Hey, someone's coming! It's Funky Kong! He's coming in for a landing!
He's gonna land on us.
Here, left!
Here, let us
Chief, that was near death!
How many of you have played the Donkey Kong Country games? For those of you who have, how many of you know who Funky Kong is? For that matter, for those of you who have are aware of like Donkey Kong, how many of you know that Funky Kong has a voice actor? Now, you're probably thinking, huh? But it's actually in the Mario Kart games. In Mario Kart Wii and in Mario Kart on the Switch, you can hear Funky Kong. He has voice acted just like most of the racers do. So he's also voice acted in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, for that matter. Just like most of them are. So you've heard his voice before, right? And you could kind of picture in his head, in your head, what he sounds like.
Hey, dudes, it's chaos all over the island. Karul's got the coconut?
It's true. We're all doomed.
Everyone knows already?
Yeesh! Hop in and I'll cruise you to the mellow yellow plantation.
Yeah, bananas. They always do the trick.
Don't count on it.
Hang tight. Takeoffs are a little rocky.
How rocky?
Nothing I can't handle.
Maybe I should stay behind. Yeah, sit this one out.
Too late.
Also, the physics of what you just saw is inaccurate, but let's ignore that for a moment.
Bananas. Fat chance. And now for my voodoo undo.
Why is Cranky suddenly in this stupid lab when he was just being sent off to the plantations? And like, what is this transition? What is this transition? And why was the launch like portrayed as a joke when there was nothing funny there? Unless the joke is that Diddy doesn't want to be destroyed for the 3rd time in this episode.
Banana panorama below.
I hope this does the trick.
Like, I'm sorry. Did you catch this, even from a production, direction, execution style of things? This is bad. Because it's like...
Do the trick.
Don't count on it.
So it cuts straight, like quick, straight cut to them. Now you happen to notice that if you're paying attention that Cranky isn't on the plane. So that's fine. Okay, we can understand that. And it takes off and Cranky's still not visible. And that's fine. But then it does this whole stupid joke, and it does the stupid kitty sound effects, and then it does the thing that literally breaks physics on several levels. And then without any real transition, it just jump cuts to Cranky suddenly being inside and back in his lab. Now, I understand what's happening, but this is bad direction. There are techniques that exist to try and convey this kind of movement and to showcase what's happening here that they didn't use. Instead, this is just weirdly confusing. And then, after he pulls down his lab from the sky, that's when we have the actual transition and back to the plane flying.
This does the trick. I hope we land.
Also, how does bananas look? Sorry, I stopped a little bit too late there. Look at them. Look at them. They look delicious, don't they? Those beautiful, beautiful bananas.
Feast your eyes on those gazillions of mellow yellows.
What a gorgeous sight! Problem solved! All you gotta do now is chow!
I hate this dialogue. I hate this dialogue so much.
He's eaten every single banana!
And he's still a wimp.
Behold the voodoo undo. What took you so long?
Bluster didn't want to come. I had to force him.
Here, you have to find DK. Make him drink this. Only the person that cast the spell on him can undo the curse.
But I didn't curse him.
Well, somebody who looked, talked, and walked like you did.
She's been at the barrel works all day.
Maybe.
Okay, I don't even know where to begin with this. First of all, how does Cranky know how to fix this thing? Second of all, what does he make that drug out of? Third of all, how does he know that Candy is the one who cursed him in this manner without understanding that it's Candy? Fourth of all, how does... I'm just going to spoil this is going to work. The fact that Candy is going to deliver the cure to the curse is going to fix the fact that Candy Bot delivered the curse, even though they are functionally separate people. Also, what is wrong with Bluster's line reading there? And finally, and hang on, I did this off camera too, but let's repeat this for just a second. I want you to do me a favor and look at his... look at his face. Okay? Just really look at him. Now, I want you to just really look at... Oh my god. I want you to look at Bluster's face and tell me what dialogue do you think is coming out of his mouth when he says... Okay, now I know I said I wouldn't pick on this too much, but if you're paying attention, his lips didn't touch that entire sequence, because I've spent too much time looking at this stupid show. Yes, Animation, we have dismissed these claims. So his lips don't touch. Now, I don't know how French language works, but I believe that there is still, like ba, pa, right? Like there's several types of words and letters that specifically involve the lips touching in order to create the sound, right? There are still some things like Coca-Cola is my perfect favorite example of this. Is something you could say without your lips actually touching. So there's plenty of things you can say without your lips touching, but just, so you look at him and he's like, oh, 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 oh. And if you were paying attention, the actual line of dialogue he just said was...
Walked like you did.
She's been at the barrel works all day.
She's been at the barrel works all day.
Maybe it was an imposter, a double, a candy wannabe. Never mind. It'll still work. Move on it.
Why will it suddenly work?
Go.
Also, why is that?
Fate of Congo Bongo is in it for you. It lies in your hands.
What is that expression for the dialogue he's saying? Now, I know. I've already pointed out that this episode had a different script. But, like, what do you think the original script was that this is his expression upon seeing Bluster and Candy leave with the medicine? Really, really think about that. Savacom asked if it was raunchier. Yes.
My loyal reptilian subjects, this marks a glorious day in history for all critters. Hell, because from this day forward,
There's his army. There's the King K. Rool army. It's 10 guys, if you're paying attention there. It's that's literally not even a platoon. Yeah, did you notice they're all in exactly the same pose, by the way? Exactly the same pose. Thank you, Junk Garage, for the sub. As always, I will jot that down for FF7R1, FF7R2, and Cyberpunk.
I am the indisputable
Do you notice this is a still shot, by the way, with no animation whatsoever?
ruler of every living being on the face of Congo Bongo. Oh, hail King K. Rool!
That's why the camera cut away from when they started talking, because it was easier to not animate them and just have them talk off camera.
What is it, clump?
There's been a setback with your plan. My sources tell me that Cranky's cooked up an antidote to the voodoo curse.
How do you know that? How does anybody know that? How does word on this island travel in literal seconds?
How are we ever gonna find Donkey Kong? He could be anywhere on the island. What is that?
They're experiencing mechanical difficulties.
Claptraps!
I'm tired. My feet are sore. I have sand in my shoes, and I'm.
What is this body language that he's doing? His arms are like this, and they're dangling here, and he's just staring down. He also is not wearing any shoes, by the way. She's wearing shoes. She's got sandals on. He's just like this. So they need to find Donkey. They know exactly where Donkey is, but because not only does Cranky know where they were going, but he also very specifically told them that where they're going wouldn't work.
I'm thirsty.
Give me that bottle.
No! This will save Donkey Kong.
So what if K. Rool wins? Who cares? Donkey Kong will be out of my hair. I can't stand that guy.
Now give me that stuff.
We're not going to save Donkey Kong. No one is.
Bluster, what are you doing?
I'm top banana now.
Okay, so if you paid attention to that sequence, it's so funny how the writers forget their own plot points in the same sentence in which they're writing them. So if you're paying attention, he says, "I'm thirsty, give me that." And then she says, "No, you can't have this, this is the cure." He then immediately forgets he's thirsty and pours it out on the ground instead of drinking it like he just indicated he was going to do.
Huh? What? What's happening? Uh-oh.
It's the biggest, hugest, humongous banana tree I've ever seen.
Also, this was a cure, like a curse cure for Donkey Kong's hair power removal cast by Candy. And so Bluster, pouring it onto the ground, makes a banana tree grow in seconds, even though that has nothing to do with literally anything we've just talked about.
Hey, DK! Donkey Kong!
What?
It's a miracle! An omen! A sign from a sign place! Look! More bananas!
No help! Not another bite! It's not gonna work!
You have to! Open up! What do you got to lose?
My lunch?
One banana bullseye! Hey, huh? Look at your head! Your hair is growing back!
Okay, so in case you missed what just happened there, and I wouldn't blame you if you did, what specifically just processed was some ways away. Remember, they're nowhere near the plantation. They plant the water. The water grows the super banana tree.
Banana tree I've ever seen.
So they're over there, and they have just planted the cure into the soil, which created a banana tree. Then, over at the banana plantation, all of a sudden, all of the bananas have regrown. Diddy Kong takes this as a sign and forces the banana down his throat, and magically, it happens to be one of the magic bananas that somehow cures the hair thing.
Hair is growing back!
So are my muscles!
Here, Crusher, put my newly acquired orb of power in the royal vault for safekeeping.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, by the way, King K. Rool just sort of assumes he's in charge of the island now because he has the orb. Remember, the orb can do whatever it needs to do for the episode. It's completely a MacGuffin. Cranky even says that in this episode. So you probably were wondering this whole time what big evil thing was K. Rool going to do with the orb, and the answer is nothing. He throws it into a vault.
Banana slammer!
Oh yeah, if you're paying attention, so slogans, you know, like catchphrases are a thing for a reason and can be well used. Even if they're used like once per episode, it's still the kind of thing that can be not terrible. If you've been paying attention, they have said Banana Slamma 3 times in this episode alone. And in 2 of those times, it had nothing to do with slamming anything. It was just something he was saying because he was going into there. To use a contrast here, think about how Darkwing Duck uses "Let's Get Dangerous" as a counterexample. And it's almost always done as a significant point when Darkwing is specifically thinking, okay, I need to actually start taking this seriously and start actually bothering, and then here we go. It's a very good example of how to use a catchphrase more accurately. Instead, he just says it to announce that he's showing up. Twice.
Ready for round 2, Crusher?
Back again. Once was not enough. What are you gonna do this time?
Remember, this is motion capture.
Just this?
Oh, my curse! My curse! It's been broken! Ah, the crystal coconut! Gone!
That's...
Man, I'm good.
That's really, really, really good aim from a random kick from Donkey Kong halfway across the island. Also, Cranky's face here is fantastic.
Big Dope did it.
Ready
Do you notice Cranky also took credit for that, too?
for round 3?
We bad guys never get a break.
Also, did you notice they didn't even show the second fight with Crusher? They just presume he beat him. Because it's cheaper to animate, obviously. And yeah, that also means anybody could have broken the curse. In fact, technically that's exactly what happened, because Candy had nothing to do with breaking the curse. Or Robo Candy, or anybody. It's just, he ate a banana, which cured him.
It's been fun, a real hoot, but I gotta split. I have a birthday party to go to.
Let's talk about voice acting. I want you to listen to how he says this line.
We bad guys never get a break.
Not that. This part right here. Listen to how Donkey says this line.
It's been fun, a real hoot, but I gotta split.
It's been fun, a real hoot, but I gotta split. Everything about that sentence is wrong. Like, at absolute most, if you're going to go with that kind of direction, you need to say something along the lines of, it's been fun, real hoot. And have like kind of like that difference of tone as you're saying the two things. You have that like chasm approach. Instead, he just says it like he's rushing through the lines and nobody told him how to actually say it.
I have a birthday party to go to.
Donkey Kong, I have something for you.
Huh?
It's just a little present for being such a hero.
Oh yeah, by the way, please remember that from Candy's perspective. Let's actually look at Candy's perspective this whole episode. So, she's at her job, working in a factory. By the way, the only worker in the factory. I don't know if you caught that. And then, okay, here we are, doing our thing. Aw, my boss just hit on me. Ugh. But then Donkey comes to hit on me. Aw. But then my boss smashed a cake on my head. Damn it, our date's off. Then she's at Cranky's place, being told, oh my god, we've got to get this thing to save Donkey. It's the only way to save the island. And then, oh, Donkey, you're so amazing now that you've... Like, is this her fetish? I'm not even... Is that where this is going with this?
Well, gosh, thanks, Candy.
Donkey Kong, I have something for you. It's just a little present for being such a hero.
Oh, two candies should be better than one.
Please look at his expression and process what he just said. Also, why is Candy giving him a gift on her birthday? Yes, I know that's a regular thing. In fact, I like to do that too. But, what? Yeah, also, why is the candy bot here? Where did she get a present? And why is she giving it to Donkey Kong? Her objective is complete. She has no further programming.
You know I'm the real thing, DK. She's obviously the imposter that started all the trouble in the first place. Liar. Well, she's the fake. Don't listen to her. She is.
I'm not even going to point out that it's one of those situations... Oh, God, look at this expression. It's one of those situations where it's very, very, very obvious which one's the fake one. Like, that's the joke, right? I don't know which one to shoot! But, except this is, once again, an older joke, because I don't know which one to shoot, even though one of them's obviously the bad guy.
Everybody hold it. I'm not gonna fall for it twice. Even I can tell the real candy from a fake. Easy. It's you.
Are you crazy?
Crazy in love enough to know the real thing when I see it. Ouch!
I never want to see you again. Now that we're alone, how about a big birthday kiss?
Oh, yes.
You got it.
This is entirely too much time devoted towards this kiss. Oh yeah, why does this happen, by the way?
I'm blown away, Candy. Totally. Yeesh.
And that's actually how the episode ends. But I want you to draw your attention to that right at the back end there. Oh no, he actually didn't make out with the robot. He never got to the point of the kiss. Their lips never actually touched. The thought of kissing him was so disgusting that she self-destructed rather than deal with that. But I want you to pay attention to his voice for a second, okay? Listen to what he says here. I'm blown away, Candy.
Totally.
Then he says, totally.
Yeesh.
Yeesh. Ugh. I'm blown away, Candy. Totally. Yeesh. Ugh. And that's how the episode ends. That's your outro. What was in the box? Why was Candy Bot trying to make out with him? Why is... Yeah, I'm thinking red. I'm thinking red. Who's with me? Red. What was in either of the boxes? You know, that's a doubly good question. It was a banana-shaped dildo. All right, so... here's the deal. If you know me, you know that the rough scale of how this goes is there's bad to excellent. But at the bottom at the top, there's another layer. It takes a little bit extra to get up to purple, which is the very top. And it takes a little bit extra to get to the bottom, which is black. Lamentation status. This is, we didn't even have a lamentation status when we first started doing this. Blue was as low as we got. And then we started, like, we ran into an episode which finally deserved that, and we came up with the lamentation concept to cover it. And all jokes and funniness aside, this episode is trash. But it's not just very bad. It's really, really, really bad on top of being, like, personally insulting to basically everyone. It's insulting to kids, it's insulting to adults, it's insulting to people who like the games, it's insulting to people who like shows in general, it's insulting to itself, it's insulting to its audience, it's insulting to its animators and its voice actors and everything. This episode is lamentation status. It's awful. And the worst part is, what you just saw is honestly about average for this show. So that's our first 0 of all of these. Cool.